This show is not intended for the politically correct or the closed-minded. Enter at the risk of opening your eyes. You have been warned.
Why does the media attack an issue? To get primetime ratings?
In my line of work, you got to keep repeating things over and over and over again for the truth to sink in.
The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
A moment comes when we step out from the old to the new, and when the soul of a nation, long suppressed, finds utterance.
To kind of catapult the propaganda.
You are listening to Open Eyes with your host, Ira Robinson. From the normal to the paranormal, from government cover-ups to the depths of our consciousness, we aim to explore all things. From the dawn of prehistory to current events, no topic is forbidden and nothing remains hidden.
No more secrets.
Open your eyes and open your mind to the fact that life as we know it is not as we have been taught. Join us at latenightinthemidlands.com or openeyesnetwork.com as we take this brief journey through the depths of the cosmos and explore what it really means to be human.
Many peoples have sacrificed their liberties, only to learn to their sorrow that deceit and mockery, poverty and tyranny are their reward.
Whether you're online or offline, intercontinental or intergalactic, hello and welcome to Open Eyes. We are live. We are in person with you. It is Friday, and hopefully you guys are ready for a really good show. If you want to call in tonight, you can do so. The number is 260-494-3937. Our Skype line is JDA Film, and as always, we're over in the chat room at LNMRadioNetwork.com, as well as live streaming onto YouTube at youtube.com/C/Open Eyes Network, or just search on YouTube for Open Eyes Network. You guys will find all of our videos over there. Don't forget, while you're over there at YouTube, you can subscribe to our channel and get notified of when we put out a new show or when we go live, such as we are right now. Woohoo! We have a special guest joining us tonight, and I'll bring her in here in just a moment, but I've been looking forward to having this conversation with her for a really long time now. I love her work. Love what she does. Her name is Jackie Chin, and she's a psychic. She's into the paranormal and basically has kind of the same idea as I do, that the paranormal is absolutely normal. So we're going to get into all things interesting and on the, I guess you could say, woo-woo side tonight. And again, if you want to call in, you are more than welcome to do so. For informational purposes, don't forget I will also be on tonight on Duct Tape Nation at midnight Eastern Standard Time. Wherever you guys are listening to this right now, you guys can listen to that then. We will be talking about the new tax plan and some of the other, craziness that's going on around the world, sort of getting into current events there. And don't forget as well, you guys can visit the archives of all of our shows over on my website, openeyesnetwork.com. And if you want to check out any of my books, you can do so. That's all over on originalworlds.com as well. So yeah, hopefully you guys will check it all out. I'm going to go ahead and bring my guest in here. She's a psychic. She's done a lot of work. She's just an amazing person and really fun to talk to, and I love her to death. So let's go ahead and bring her in here. Jackie, hello. Welcome to the show.
Well, hello. How are you? I
am amazing tonight, and I'm so glad that you're here with me. This is, I think, a really good show tonight is on tap for everybody. But I want to give you a chance here. I didn't read any kind of bio for you or anything like that because I like to let the people talk about themselves. I think it's a lot better to do that than to give out some kind of, pre-made bios and all that kind of stuff. So what about you? What is there about you, Jackie?
Oh, my goodness. I didn't know you were going to put me on the spot like that right off the bat, too. Look at you. Aren't you just so charming?
Indeed.
All right. Now I know how some of the people I talk with on a regular feel. Bio. Gosh. I always tell people that when I'm talking with them about stuff that I do, it's like I've lived many lifetimes in just one lifetime because there are so many different kinds of things that I've done. Let's see, and we can talk about my paranormal experience, I guess. Let me think. Where do I begin?
Well, where did things start for you? So for instance, were you born with the things that you do, or is it something that ended up happening a little bit later in life? Because I know sometimes people end up kind of falling into it later in life as opposed to starting off with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I had a mentor. My grandmother was my mentor. Only I didn't really know that she was mentoring me. We would just have conversations about things that would happen to me. And I think what really started kicking off the paranormal experience for me full blown is when I was about 18 or 19 years old. And can you imagine walking down the street, minding your own business? You're just like walking up to like the downtown area, and you're going to get a soda, and you're going to go check out some stores and all that, and it's a beautiful day, and there's blue skies and like puffy clouds and all that, and you look up and you see an airplane, and you're like, okay, so because we only live about 20 minutes away from the airport. But what ended up happening is I felt my spirit part being lifted up, and I was inside this airplane, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, this is really weird. And I could see business travelers and regular people sitting there minding, their own business. And I could hear babies crying and people walking around. And then what seems to be maybe about 10, 15 seconds later, the whole plane explodes. And I made a bunch of phone calls because I didn't know. It was so vivid. It was weird. Ran back to the house, and I made phone calls, and I wanted to find out if that actually happened, or if it was. I'd never had something so vivid like that ever before, so because it felt so extremely real. And then when I was talking to people, they said, no, there's nothing that they heard. And then can you imagine months later, turning on the television, it's the evening news, you're sitting there, you're getting something to eat, and you hear about this plane that explodes and in midair. And that's what started the big, what the heck is that? Because my grandmother had never talked to me about that kind of thing. Ghosts and paranormal stuff, yes, but never anything like that.
I know for me, my experiences started when I was very young. I mean, almost from the beginning of my memories, things have always ended up happening. At one point in time, I remember I was walking across the street going to a park, and out of nowhere, this car started to come up rapidly down the road. And my parents were standing outside talking to their friends as I'm walking across the street over to the park. And as my mom is just getting ready to open up her mouth to scream that I'm getting hit, literally out of nowhere, this flash of light ended up occurring, and my body was lifted up and thrown backwards into her waiting arms. That was sort of like one of the first experiences that I had with the paranormal. And of course, a lot of people might say, well, that was guardian angel or whatever the case may be. But since then, it's almost like the paranormal has been normal to me. I've been able to see ghosts and talk to ghosts if they're willing. Sometimes they're not. Right. But
sometimes they talk and you don't want them to.
Oh yeah, there's that too. Walking down the street or driving down the street and suddenly one of them pops out into the road. And you're oh God,
that can be an issue, and regular people that have not had or are open enough to have that kind of experience, they kind of look at you like, what were you eating in your Fruit Loops this morning? Because that's kind of weird.
Yeah, exactly. But my prime forte, I guess you could say, has always been a really well-designed sense of empathy, I guess you could say, an empathic type of person. Although I think everybody is. Some people, it seems like they have I don't know, maybe a deeper understanding of it or a better connection inherently, I guess. But through what I've been able to do is kind of bring out the traumatic experiences, especially emotionally speaking, in people and try to help them heal from it. But through that kind of stuff that I've been through, you know, I was raised in a religious household. And so I was always told, well, what you're doing is demonic and so on and so forth. And
oh, you too.
yeah, I got that a lot.
Yeah, I got a bunch of those priests and other people when I was trying to figure out what was going on. They were like, don't mess with that. It's wrong completely or it's demons always.
It's funny, though, because at the same time, you know, you point out things like in Corinthians where it talks about the different spiritual gifts that you'll be given. And they're like, yeah, that's there. Okay, well, what about these here? They're just designed. They're just right there, the same things, right? They're the exact same things. We just call it different.
But
so
for some reason, it's okay for those people in that particular book to have that happen because that's the Bible. But for people that are regular people, like they were, regular people, you know, it's some sort of taboo, or it's just not, it's not clean. It's not anything that's any good.
Right. Exactly. It's tainted by demons and evil. And yet if you're helping people out with it, you know, if you're helping to heal them or helping to protect them or whatever the case may be, how is that really demonic? I mean, you know, I've dealt with demonic entities before. They have literally no sense of helping anybody out in any way, shape or form. So it just doesn't make any sense. Right.
Yeah. I mean, but it also says in the good book that, anything that is demonic can take the appearance of something for a little while, but they can never do something that is that is healing, that is truly healing and long time healing. And I think that I think sometimes people get a little confused with that one too, because sometimes things can take the appearance of being a good thing and then turn very sour.
We kind of experience that in daily life, though, anyways. It's just all around.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be demonic, that's for sure.
There's also a lot of people that are so disconnected from their spiritual body. I find that they take in things that seem to be regularly affixed, and they don't really pay attention to maybe the consequences of what can happen afterward, and so they just gravitate toward what is going to fix the situation now, and I think they open themselves up a lot of times to some very, very dark things that can happen later on.
I totally agree with you with that. I've definitely seen that happen in people around me. You know, it's trying to help them to bypass some of the stuff that they have going on in their lives. It's difficult because they then turn around and keep doing the same things that they know open up the doors for these different, dark powers basically to come in.
Why do you think they do that? Why in your experience, why do you think they keep doing that?
You know, honestly, I think that it has a lot to do with addictions. I know we were talking about this a little bit before the show. I wrote a book about, it's called When Good Relationships Go Bad. But in the book, I talk about emotional addictions and how people get addicted to certain pathways in their lives, the patterns that they've kind of fallen into based upon all of the experiences that they've had in their lives. You know, we're kind of like, as people, we're the culmination of all of the experiences we've ever had, even if we don't remember any of them. You know, they're still there in the subconscious and still influencing the directions that we take in our lives. And so we get used to having certain things happen. And because of the way that our brains work, our brains basically are there only for one thing: survival. That's it. That's all that it's designed to do. If you're living right now, then it's done its job. It's, kept you alive. So if people try to change things, it's very difficult for them to do so because they're actually fighting against their own brain that's telling them, don't change anything, because if you change anything, we're going to die. You know what I mean? It's so.
Well, I mean, yeah, I understand what you're saying about the brain, but I have a little bit, I guess, of a different understanding of how that works. Most of our survival basic instincts, that thing that says you need to have for you to be able to continue surviving, is in hindbrain, and that it's all animalistic. It's the very first thing that is actually created. And then there are higher levels that are within the brain that if you can get to that point, then you understand that it's not just about you, it is about others.
You got it.
And then once you, and the level that is, I guess, after that is that everything that is going on the planet, you are connected to everything, whether you want to think about that or not. I mean, is, your decision, but you really do have an effect. We were talking a little early the other day about these people that keep a very low level vibration, and they're always angry all the time, or they got to be fighting about something, and how all of that with everyone that is like that, their vibration is also, I think, changing how the world is, how the vibration of the actual planet is.
I agree 100%. To go with what you're saying there, I've said many times that, for instance, the leaders that we have placed over us, that can go in any direction, but these leaders that we have, they are actually a reflection. They're a mirror reflection of the general population. So if the leaders are doing things like lying, cheating, and stealing, they're reflecting what's happening in the general mass population. The people themselves are in their daily lives doing a lot of cheating, lying, and stealing. So they're just, they're there to show people, this is what's happening in the mass population. This is what is actually occurring. If the people were not doing these things themselves, even maybe subconsciously, they would not allow these leaders to be in place.
Because there would be something that would be intrinsically different with the vibration that they're giving off.
Right,
but here's
exactly.
the other part of that. People lie, cheat, and steal, yes, but a lot of times they don't want to have somebody that shows them that they're doing that, because then that will make them, I don't know, I guess retreat on some level, because they don't want that pointed out. They want to think that what they're doing is all quite normal, and this is what they teach their kids. That's, I think, a big part of why we've got so many youth that are just going full bore crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And doing things that are just, unconscionable. And think about some of these things that have been going on, where these kids, they go out and they do that, and then the people that are their family are like, he wasn't doing anything wrong. He was this, that, or the other, and they point in all other directions. It's so unconscionable that they can't even begin to think, oh my God, this happened, and we may be the cause of it, at least at the root.
Yep, exactly. That's what I see too. It's again, it's that mirror reflection. We're seeing so much friction happening in the world right now, and it's funny because okay, we're gonna go into a weird direction here, I think, but I want to get your thoughts with this. We have this thing like where we see these massive changes occurring in the world with weather, with temperatures. It seems like everywhere around us, it's just changing rapidly. And at the same time, we're also seeing all of these people that are out there that are harboring angers, harboring grudges, harboring fears, so on and so forth. These things cause friction. And it's like almost the energy of that is being reflected on us by the planet itself. The things that are occurring on the planet itself, they're not just because there's, too many cows farting in the wind or something like that. It's because people are themselves having this energetic issue, and that energy that they're doing is contributing to this energy of as a whole on the planet.
Yes. And I think that not only inside what is changing, but the stuff that is also happening in space, where we are being bombarded with a lot of solar flares, especially recently with the way the sun is. All of that energy that a lot of times people are like, "Oh, that's just woo-woo." It's you know what? We are all made out of energy. Period. End of sentence.
You got it.
We all have different frequencies that we run on. Energy is frequency, and vibration, and all of that's all the same thing. It's just split up into different terms. That's all. But if we allow ourselves to take in things with all five of our our senses, I should say, and most of it is in a negative way, then we're not only poisoning our own bodies with our pH balance being way out of bounds, we are also poisoning everything and everyone we touch by that particular vibration.
That's it, exactly. Yeah, and you are 100% correct. I've said so many times. Again, you must be listening to my show.
You must be doing something, huh?
that we ourselves, we're nothing more than energy ourselves. I mean, we're made up of these atoms, and those atoms are even broken down further into the quanta field.
Oh, yes.
So I mean, everything is energy. Nothing actually exists. Nothing actually is real until it's, perceived as being real. So the fact, though, that everything literally is energy, okay, let me put it to you this way, and again, I'll get your thoughts with this. The way I look at things is that we are like strings on a piano, okay? If you pluck the string on a piano, it vibrates, and it makes the tone, and the vibration goes up and down the string, making the tone that it plays, right? And that's one thing. However, what a lot of people don't realize is that when you pluck a string on a piano, all of the strings around it start vibrating in harmony with, sympathetic harmony with that plucked string as well. So we ourselves...
and so does the piano itself.
Right, exactly. So we ourselves, when we are doing something, we take an action, we make a decision, or whatever the case may be, we're vibrating at that certain frequency, and we're also having the other people around us vibrating with us because of that action that we took.
Just think about mob mentality.
Oh, that's a big one, yeah.
You can have one person who just gets so wound out about a something or a mass of somethings that all basically have the same frequency, and that person could go and maybe get on the phone. Now think about this. The person is vibrating at a particular frequency. The phone line uses energy. It's connected into electricity, all of that kind of goofy stuff. So you've got their energy connected into that, which is a much bigger energy, and it goes transferring to the next person that picks up the phone, and their energy then becomes connected with it, and the energy that is through the phone line and all of that where they are, and it gets louder and louder and louder and louder until finally it erupts. And what you need to look at is the very first drop that happened that really started that whole thing to snowball, and then the very last drop. What made it stop?
Aha, that's the good question, right? The good question.
Right, and, right. Does it, I mean, we see, when we see mob mentality, we generally think mob mentality as a horrible thing. Not everything that is on the planet, there is no such thing as it always being all terrible or all good.
Right.
And so
for every good, there's a bad. For every bad, there's a good. It's all in balance, because nature abhors an imbalance, and it abhors a vacuum. It will balance things back out again.
Right. So what we need to do is we need to figure out if there is a way to be able to get somewhere in the middle where we can diffuse it, because there's always there's a break. There is a small infinitesimal break that is always in all of those kinds of situations where it can be immediately diffused.
Right.
We can get somebody in there, and we can get them to say, this needs to stop, or some other action needs to come in there to be able to break that pattern.
Well, yeah, exactly, Jackie. The way that I would put it is this: when you are faced with a certain type of energy like anger, reflecting back anger is not going to help. You're just going to grow more and more anger all the way around. The thing that you have to do is hit it with the opposite energy, because that's the only thing that's going to actually stop it in its tracks is hitting it with that opposite energy.
Yes.
Some kind of that opposing force. What do you do against anger? Hit them with love. You know, that's one of the best things that you can do. That may not be easy.
Anger has a particular tone to it.
Yes.
Or a particular frequency. Now, you know those singing bells? You ever heard of those? It's like a big bowl or a singing bowl. When somebody hits it, and then it makes this wonderful tone to it.
Mm-hmm.
If you can find what that tone is, or that frequency, when you hit that bell or that bowl, then you can distract. You can take their concentration off of that horrible anger thing that is rising, and you can catch their attention. It splits what is about to happen, because there is that, I don't know what they call it. It's not an event horizon, but it is a potential. And when you hit that potential with that opposite, like what you were saying, that's when you can get people to actually at least become more aware. When you're angry, when people are all angry, they're not aware of what's going on. All they're aware of is that they're angry, and the other people around them are angry, so they must be angrier.
Yes, tunnel vision, definitely.
Right.
The way I look at things is this, Jackie. I see human beings. We are we're on a path. Okay, like we're walking down a path. On one side of the path is all the dark things, the angers, the hatreds, the grudges, the ice capades, everything that's horrible in the universe is over on that side of the road. And then on the other side of the road, you've got all the good things. You've got the love, the happiness, the children, and the Lucky Charms guy spreading his marshmallows everywhere. It's all the good things that are over there. And we as human beings, we're not in one or the other. We're in the center of it, and we can turn our heads in either one direction or the other. Most people seem to face towards that negative thing. I think because, again, it's kind of a survival instinct. You have to be aware of danger and so on and so forth. So you tend to pay more attention to the negative things than you do to the positive things. But that doesn't mean that there's more negative. It just means that's what you're looking at. There are still all those positive things.
Amazing things out there.
Yeah.
That are wonderful.
To me, I just see human beings as being that, and we can choose which one we're looking at if we want to. We sometimes, I think that sometimes people, they get to the point where they become very instinctual in their actions. They're doing nothing more than reacting instead of acting. And that's one of the big problems I think we're seeing today, is that more and more people are just in that reaction kind of mode. So they're waiting for an event to happen that they can react to and get ticked off or whatever the case may be, so that they can have an excuse for why they're looking at the negative, I guess, if that makes sense to you.
And that's what you hit on. You hit on the exact thing. They're looking for that next excuse.
Yep, exactly.
And back to your addiction mentality, a lot of times people can go without whatever their main addiction is for the longest time, and then something happens, and of course it's because of someone else that did something, and it made them go and do the bad thing that they're going to do, that is their main addiction, and that is the excuse to start all over again. Or maybe they think, well, we'll just do a little bit because I'm just only a little angry, and then they get the taste of it, and then bam, 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 then it's back to where they started from. Full-blown
addiction again. Yeah, it's like, the phrasing everybody always says, once you're an alcoholic, you're always an alcoholic. Once you're a Marine, you're always a Marine. You're always that thing, and you always have to be aware of the potential that you have to slide right back into those old patterns again.
So when you go and you are talking about the book that you have regarding addiction, do you go into talking about also what kinds of replacements can be put in because you know that once someone has an addictive behavior, the only way that, or at least I have found, the only way that you can go beyond that is to find something else that they can be equally addicted to that is benevolent.
Right, something in a positive way, right? Exactly. It's like with me smoking. I smoked for 35 years, and I replaced it with vaping. I vape now, which is not necessarily always, it's not a healthy thing to do, but it's certainly more healthy than tobacco smoking is. So, it's like I have a vice, but it's not as bad of a vice as the one that I had. But yeah, I do definitely go into that kind of thing. My book is geared specifically more towards helping people in relationships that they have, as opposed to just straight up addiction. I've actually been thinking about writing another one that it gears more towards a generalized kind of addiction sort of thing. But yeah, I definitely go into how people can try to find ways to get beyond that addiction that they have, or to at least become so consciously aware of it that they can decide to go in a different direction, if that makes sense to you.
Well, a lot of times when I've worked with couples with relationship issues, I always do them one-on-one. I learned quite a while back not to do relationship people that are in working, or basically non-really working relationships together, because each one of them will come with whatever their separate baggage is, and sometimes they don't want to have it fully revealed in front of the other person.
Right. Yeah.
So, but I told people that when you're in a relationship and it is something that is truly not working, there are three things to consider and whether or not you should move it forward. One is your mind. Well, you have three parts to your body. You have your mind, your body, and your spirit, or your consciousness, whatever they want to, however they want to look at it. And when you're looking at it like this, you can look at that all the way across the board, whether it be for interpersonal relationships or for things that you're doing in your life and what you're thinking about. When you're looking at it from your mind perspective, how does it make you feel? Does it make you feel like you want to be able to reach your potential, or does it continuously knock you down? In your body, when you're with that person or you're involved in that thing, does it drain you or does it make you feel exhilarated? And in your spiritual side, does it make you feel like you are in the right place, or does it tell you instinctively to run?
Our bodies definitely are very revelatory as far as the things that are going on around us. Because again, because we're energy, these bodies are reflections of that energy. Yes. So if you are feeling uncomfortable in a situation, there's a reason why you're uncomfortable in that situation. It's not just because, I'm afraid or whatever. There's a reason why that fear is there. Perhaps it's somebody that's there that you've got a history with, or that you are instinctively picking up on that they're not a good person or something like that, and you have to be aware of what your body is doing, because if you are, it's like you can follow that flow of energy, you can follow that pathway to wherever it's going to lead you, and it's going to lead you into a good way, I think, if you follow your instincts. That's how I look at things anyway.
Have you looked into at all the study of what scientists are finding out about DNA? When someone is born with an innate ability to, like, say, play the piano, and they are amazing at what they do, a big part of what I always used to think is that there has to be either a past life that this person has gone through, or maybe perhaps there is something in their DNA that is allowing for that person to become a virtuoso. It is lately, especially, findings within scientists who are studying DNA that not only are genetics for what our body can and cannot do, but it also is what we are basically programmed to be able to do either really well or not well at all.
Isn't it interesting how it seems like the things that they call junk DNA seem to be being more and more useful?
Yeah, have you studied about that too?
I have indeed. Yep.
And they are finding that there are particular aspects of our DNA that are like programs within their own right.
Yeah.
And it, I mean, wow, we could like talk all kinds of like really, really in-depth things about just DNA itself, but the whole idea is that even that little tiny piece of DNA is all a reflection of energy. None of this would be possible if that spark did not happen.
Exactly. Jackie, we do need to hit a break here real quick. When we come back, let's get more into that kind of stuff, because I love the direction that you're going with it. And I love talking about that subject, period. It's one of my favorites. So you're hitting a good button for me there.
Thank you.
Alrighty, well, we'll be back in just a few minutes then. If you guys want to call in, you can do so. The number tonight is 260-494-3937. Our Skype line is JDA Film. And as always, we're over in the chat rooms over at LNMRadioNetwork.com as well as YouTube.com. Come on over, join in with us. We'll be back in just a few minutes, folks. There are days that the red pill is bitter in my stomach, but I can't get it back out. I think because I have to. I speak because I have no choice. I walk through this dark age we're in with open eyes. Listen to Open Eyes on LateNightInTheMidlands.com. And together, maybe we won't stumble and fall.
Do you need toner for your Epson, Hewlett-Packard, Canon, Brother, Apple, or Sharp printers? Look no further than Laser Technologies. In business for over 20 years, they offer the lowest prices on toner on the web. They can also repair your laser printers and toners fast and easy. Call their expert staff today at 561-792-9600 or email us at service@laser-technologies.com for all your toner needs. All toner is shipped nationwide. Why wait? Get the lowest prices on toner. Call or email us today.
The LNM Radio Network and Late Night in the Midlands depends on you, the listener. Without you, there would be no us. So help us continue to bring you the best guests with the best information, and subscribe today. Information on becoming an LNM subscriber can be found at the top of LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Just click the About Subscriptions tab and become part of the family while helping the truth stay alive. And while you're at it, maybe subscriptions aren't for you. A one-time donation helps as well. Click that donate button on the right side of LateNightInTheMidlands.com and help us help you.
Ben Franklin said, if you do the same thing tomorrow as you did today, you're going to get the same tomorrow as you got today. Changing the world starts with you, and changing you starts with changing the way you think. Late Night in the Midlands can help. Listen to all of our shows at LateNightInTheMidlands.com, because things really do need to change. Fear. There is always so much to fear. So many shadows are just waiting for the moment for when we pay no attention at all. Just waiting for the moment when they can grab us and make us come undone. Fear takes, and fear gives nothing in return. But there is one gift in this life that fear is afraid of. The gift of love. Reach out for someone today. Fear nothing, for fear is nothing. Live hard. Welcome back to Open Eyes, everybody. I'm glad to have you guys here with me tonight, and hopefully you guys are enjoying the show as much as I am. This has been a really good one. Jackie Chin is my guest tonight, and I'm loving the conversation so far. Hopefully you guys are as well. If you guys want to call in tonight, 260-494-3937 is the call-in number. Skype line is JDA Film, and as always, we're over in the chat room at LNMRadioNetwork.com. So we are back, and Jackie, are you still there with us?
I am.
All right.
I think I am.
I didn't lose you. Yay.
Yes. I am here. So let's continue.
Indeed. And hopefully we get to stay connected. We've got a nice big storm that's starting to roll through here, and the thunder was going big time there during the commercial break. So hopefully we'll have no problems and be able to stay connected tonight. But anyways.
I have a friend of mine. His name is Derek White Sky Cloud, and he's asking if there is a chat room on the site.
Indeed. If you guys go to the LNMRadioNetwork.com site or OpenEyesNetwork.com, you guys can find the chat and listen pages. There's a big blinking red button on the top of both of those pages. Just click that. You guys will find the chat box a little bit further down the page. You do have to log into it with an email address, but we don't use the email address for spamming or anything like that. We don't actually control the chat box. It's just the way that they log in. You used to be able to log in with Facebook, but they changed the algorithm a little bit, and I don't think that that's actually functional at the moment. But yeah, anyways. So yeah, you guys can join us over there. We're also over on YouTube as well. There's youtube.com/C/Open Eyes Network. There's the live chat over there that people are active in as well. So either place will get you to it.
Great. Thank you.
So there you go. Before we hit the break there, we were talking a little bit about DNA. And one of the things that I find interesting as far as this whole thing is concerned is the thought of, let's say, for instance, if somebody has an accident and they go through like a traumatic brain injury, and sometimes what ends up happening is out of nowhere, they wake up and they start speaking a foreign language completely fluently, even though they've never heard that language in their life. How exactly does that happen, right?
I can tell you how exactly that happens. Hold on to your seatbelt because you're going to need it. We are all connected into everything that is going on. We've already established that.
Yep.
Now, I do believe that we have multiple lifetimes. Not just one in like, as I was saying, my one lifetime, I've had many, but literally in many different lifetimes on the planet, in different areas of the planet.
I agree completely. This is not our first time around the maypole, that's for sure.
Right. But that explains part of the reason why people gravitate to particular areas on the planet, because they have a distinct need to be able to learn about whatever that area is, because they gravitate towards it. Now, all right, so now that we've gotten to that far,
100% agree, by the way.
Part of the reason why people can do that is because they've had other lifetimes where they have lived in that area and they've had to speak that language because that was their native language.
Yep.
Now, if you don't buy into that, then think about the fact that there are only a certain amount of phonetics that can be used by the human vocal. And when your brain experiences a shutdown in a particular area, it will immediately go to try to repair itself, even though people on the outside who are looking at that person cannot tell that that's what's happening. That body is one of its things that it's supposed to do is supposed to repair itself. And so in its repairing of the body, it will go to what is the easiest flow of information.
Sure, exactly.
Just like what we were talking about with the energy. It'll go to where it flows the easiest.
Path of least resistance, yep.
Right. And so it will connect into maybe a past life experience, or it will connect into something maybe perhaps that you were studying right before, or it will connect into what it hears around it, and so that it will try to familiarize itself. the brain is often spoken about as if it is a computer. It is.
Yep.
Period. End of sentence. It is a computer. And computers, what their jobs are to take in input, and out of our senses, it will, that input comes out in our reaction or in our voice. And so I think that is a big part of how that works.
I don't disagree at all. That's actually along the lines of what I've thought as well. So I'm glad that you put it in the way that you did, because I'm in 100% agreement with you with it. Now, I do have a question for you, and this is it's sort of maybe a sideline question to this whole DNA topic. I've got my own thoughts with this that I can give after hearing yours, but what do you think? Do you think that people are born with genetic knowledge that's been passed on from previous generations? I know a lot of scientists are starting to actually come to this understanding that it seems that there are a lot of genetic memories that are passed on through, the reproductive cycle, so that when a child is born, for instance, if they're born, if they were born, like, for instance, on the in the wilds on the Serengeti or something like that, they're going to have a certain skill set that they're born to be more apt with, as opposed to how they are, for instance, now. 20 years ago, a kid could pick up a book and be able to turn the pages of the book with no problem. Now that same kid might have difficulty turning the pages of the book, but they'll be able to pick up an iPad and be able to flip through the screens. So what do you think? Do you think that it's possible that these kind of circumstantial things going on around the body when it's born have an influence, genetically speaking, to unlock certain knowledges that they're going to have more of an aptitude towards?
Here's where that goes. It is definitively through DNA that we get put together as a human being. Other animals, plants, all of that, they have their own DNA. All right, so we get put together as a human being. Now, part of what is going on is that we have two people, man, woman, they put them together, and then boom, there's the zygote, and boom, 9 months later we have a baby. You're going to take all of the experiences from the female that she has had, plus including her DNA, what she has brought into being for being a person to be able to have a baby. And you're going to have the male, everything he sees, senses, all of that, plus his DNA. And think about it like a very big, huge encyclopedia of what their ancestors went through. And a lot of times, especially when thinking about children who have night terrors, they're little, maybe 2 to 4 years old, and they're having night terrors.
Been there.
And they've never physically experienced anything horrific ever. Maybe not even watched a scary movie, but yet they have these night terrors. These visions that they're seeing within their dreams are ancestral markers, things that have happened to them, those who went before, all of that DNA, all of that information. And then they're perhaps also having to deal with whatever their past life information, and it's all mixed together, and it can be rather daunting.
Very traumatic, yeah.
Extremely traumatic. And sometimes people, as they age, they will keep packed of more so of their fears, and those fears, they stem through their DNA.
It explains a lot, too, why there are certain times where you will meet somebody and instantly hate them, instantly have this massive dislike for.
That's a little different.
Okay.
We have genetic markers in us that will either say, yes, this is a good thing to have happen, or this is a bad thing. Now, whether or not it's purely from ancestral markers, or if it's from something that you recently physically went through, or maybe even seen someone else, a family member, whatever, go through, and they're experience and all that you keep with you. But when you are in a situation and it feels really off, you not only have your DNA marker, but you also have your energy field that is around you.
Right.
And this is it's still energy, but outside of your body. When you're fully well and you're put together and you're healthy and happy and all that, your outside energy extends 7 feet above, to the side, and below.
Yep.
So you've got your own personal little bubble. And that energy touches that other person or that other situation's energy way even before you even know that person or that situation is going to come.
Yep.
So you got kind of the same situation, maybe just different markers.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I understand where you're coming from with it, and I definitely agree with it. I would say too, speaking of that personal bubble, there are people that you will allow into that personal bubble, but it seems like, okay, for instance, there are times where I will put, a bubble around our house, just I always keep it there.
Oh, yeah.
It's always there. It's a protective measure. It's always there. So anyways, there are times where people will come over and they're strangers, or they maybe haven't been around for a little while or something like that, and they will not be able to stay in our house. They cannot be there. They it's like they find any excuse they can to walk out the door. There's one person for example, who has been like a very negative influence on people's lives. And whenever she walks in, because sometimes she has to, whenever she walks in, she'll like, oh, I left something out in the car. Oh, I left something out in the car again. Oh boy, I forgot to get this over at the gas station. I'll be right back. They have to find any excuse, like subconsciously, to get out of the house, to leave the area, And I love when that happens, because then you're like, I
know why you're doing that. That's okay. You keep doing that. People a lot of times they forget, or maybe they don't even know, but sometimes it's mostly they forget that they can take action to be able to clear out their possessions or their home or their car or things, people that are important around them, to be able to keep a good, clean flow of energy around them.
You take a bath. You need to do that too.
Yeah.
It's the same difference, really.
You bathe your body, hopefully. you also bathe the energy that is around you.
Right.
And there are different ways that you can do that. Some more concrete and less woo-woo than others. But you can go to the full spectrum of how you want to do it.
And it's definitely necessary to do so. We encounter so many different things. It's like I described to my wife before how it works with me sometimes, or how I see things sometimes. That when you encounter these different dark energies or negative influences or whatever the case may be, it's almost like your aura has like a whole bunch of just sludge covering it, and it's like just dirty and dingy, and you gotta clean that thing out once in a while. You gotta give it a little aura wash.
Well, you do need to be aware of the kinds of situations that you're running into.
Sure,
but there are some times when you may not, have the idea that something like that could possibly happen. There have been a couple of times when I've been in places that are purely just really relaxing for 9/10 of the time, and then a situation will happen, and it's like it takes you off guard, and you can freeze.
Sometimes I describe it as 9 minutes of complete boredom followed by 1 minute of complete terror. Sometimes you have those incidences.
Yeah, doesn't that happen all the time? Because it's like, when people, they go, oh, negative energy, it's got to be demons. No. But when you run into one of those situations where it actually is you, the last place you want to be is where that thing is.
You're right.
And if you do experience something like that, the last thing that you want to happen is for any innocent to come up on it, because they will not know what to do.
Right, exactly.
And, so we laugh and joke about that kind of stuff. Most of the time, it's just like a disembodied spirit that just was ticked off here on Earth and is going to be still ticked off until it realizes, hey, they don't need to be like that anymore. Or it is something that is psychologically happening within the person that is making things happen. So, I have 6 kids. Some of the people that I have conversation with know that there are situations in my home and around my children that they run into oddities where if they're going through puberty or something like that, there's a lot of energy. Their energy is going off like a pinball and things all over the place. And it's very hard to concentrate, or it's very hard to stay even keel, because they're, especially in girls, they're all over the place.
Oh yeah. It's much harder. Yeah. It's much harder with girls because, they're all, I mean, to me, this may be, I don't know, sexist or whatever. I don't care, whatever anybody wants to look at it. Girls, they do go through a lot more than guys do. And I think it's because that creative energy is inherent in the feminine, that it's a part of it.
And maternal.
Yes. And it's such a powerful, powerful energy that, when girls are starting to go through their puberty and all that kind of stuff, I mean, things just go haywire all over the place.
I've seen where one girl in particular, she's very drama-ish. And anyway, on top of everything else, in particular days, there will be a lot more of that happening. And if she gets really angry or highly emotional about something or someone, things can happen. Like one evening, she was downstairs in the kitchen, and she needed headache medicine, or it was allergy medicine or something, some type of medicine. She was opening the cabinets, and she couldn't find what she was looking for. We keep our medicine downstairs in the kitchen. I know that's kind of odd, but that's where I keep track of everything. And I walked into the kitchen to see what the heck was going on, and the cabinet door was open, and I watched this medicine bottle just go flying out of the cabinet onto the floor. And she looked at it, and these kinds of things, they happen. So it's like a normal kind of thing. Right. I know it sounds weird, but it's normal.
Totally with you with it, Jackie. I am.
She goes and she picks the bottle up, and she's looking at it, and she goes, "No, that's for my dad. I need something for me." Not, "Oh my God, this thing just flew out." But no, I'm sorry, it's the wrong medicine. And I went, okay, that's cool. So I went and I looked at, turned on the light, because she was trying to do this in the dark. And I flipped the switch, and I'm like, oh, okay, all right, so this is what you need. She looked at me sideways, and I'm a human being standing there. And she goes, "Did you see what just happened?" I said, "Yeah, it's not a big deal. Just, here's some medicine, go take it and go back to bed." Okay. But, I had one girl that came home, and she was really upset about something that had happened terrible at the school. And she was very, very upset. She walks down the hallway, and as she's walking down the hallway, locker doors open. They just fly open. And she was scared to death that somebody actually saw what happened. And I didn't get any reports from the school, but I did have a teacher about a couple of weeks later say she saw what happened. She didn't tell anybody, and she didn't even talk to my kid about it, but she saw what happened. And I just said, look, it's what it is energy transference. It's not possession. It's not anything like that. It's not even woo-woo.
It's a spiritual release valve of a sort, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
It's, it's a pressure valve that is purely energy, normal kind of thing that gets connected in, and it just happened to make a wave, I guess. And she was walking down the hallway, and she was flailing her arms, and she was really angry.
Yeah.
And when, you do that, you're going to make a wave. And this time, it was an actual thing that connected in with something else, and there that happened.
It's just like a,
paranormal. It was kinetic.
Yeah, exactly. Kinetic energy. That's all that it is. And whether or not it's influenced right here directly in the body or extended from it, it's still the same thing. And it happens all the time. It happens all the time. I think actually administrators and teachers, they see this kind of thing actually happen a lot more often than they ever would talk about. It's just
I've had a couple of teachers that have come up to me and said, I know that you do this kind of thing, and you talk with young people and parents and all that. And I have a situation, and she told me about a bunch of events that she had witnessed or been told by these young people who are scared to death to talk to their parents or any of their other people about it because they're afraid that they're going to be ostracized.
Yeah, there's a big stigma that's attached to it all. Yeah.
And it should not be there. It should not be there.
I agree.
And the more and more that we get moving through the years, so to speak, the more and more these young people are going to be able to do this. And if they don't have people to be able to teach them that that's normal and how to work with it, or at least tune it down, they're going to become angry or frightened, and or maybe perhaps use it in ways that are horrible.
Or be used. There are a lot of governmental entities that do that kind of thing. They look for that kind of thing, Yeah,
they do.
We know that. There's no doubt. We're not getting into conspiracy here. This is absolute truth,
This is real.
It's real.
I mean, I went, I was, when I was in college, I had a friend in the science department, and I told him, I said, hey, I want to show you how I can do something. And they looked and they were like, how the heck are you doing that? Truly, when I was in college back then, I wasn't really geared into how it works.
Right.
I just know that it works. And so they went and they put me through a battery of tests. And then other people wanted to talk to me. And I'm like, I don't think I want to go that route because, I've kind of heard, what can happen with some of these people. You also, if you have the ability to be able to do things, you really do need to be very concerned with whom you speak to about it, because there are going to be people out there that are going to try and use it for their own project or whatever.
Nefarious purposes is how I would put it. But
I know people that are out there that will do that.
And even going away from that, just in personal interactions, I know, for instance, I had a couple of, quote, friends who found out what I can do, and they, like, for instance, one night I got invited over to a party.
To the choir.
I got invited to a party, and I went there. I'm looking forward to it. It's the first time I'd been able to get out in a while, and I just broken up with a girl, and I was really, looking forward to it. I get over there. There was like four people that were there along with my friend, and literally they just invited me over because she told them what I can do, and they wanted to see it happen. I was a party favor. That's all I was. You want to talk about,
that suck?
Oh man, it was like one of the worst nights of my life. I was just so pissed off. I hate being used, and to be used like that, that's just, it angered me so much. But yeah, I'm sure you've encountered that kind of thing too.
And what really bites is that especially when you're very empathic, you really want to be able to have friends. You want to be able to have people that care about you as an individual.
Yes.
You don't really want them to care about you just because of what you do. And it ends up actually being quite lonely because, I have particular friends of mine that I know that care about me just because I'm a human being, which is cool, and I'm very thankful for that. But I don't get much adult conversation. I don't get much of that kind of interaction. Most of the time when I'm interacting with adults, it's because I'm working with them, trying to fix something that is wrong within their life, which I don't mind that either, because that's part of how I help my family through being paid for that. There are times too when you're helping people who have missing persons, or you have people that have horrible things, that, crimes that need help solving, and they've extended all the other manpower ways to be able to solve it, and they reach out for someone to be able to help them in a more creative way. And so that's cool. I mean, when you can do stuff like that, but it is very lonely. And I talk to a ton of people. Plus, with this other, I do a radio show that's even outside of my paranormal stuff, and I talk with lots of people from all over the globe now. And it's still that very much I spend a lot of time by myself.
Very isolationist. Yeah, I'm that way too. It's almost a survival instinct to be that way though too. When you're an empathic person, especially one that's a very, strong empathic person, if you're around even more than 2 or 3 people, it can become very hard to deal with just going through motions, moment to moment, because you never know. Like, unless you're really, really in tune with your own self and identity and so on and so forth, which a lot of people aren't, unfortunately.
You have to be. When you're doing this kind of stuff, you have to have that now I'm going to sound woo-woo, new agey. You have to have that bubble around you that allows you to know that in your particular inner space that you are who you are, and that you are not that other person's problem.
Yep,
that
exactly.
You may identify with it, and you may be able to somehow act as a sounding board for them, but you may not own their situation privately, because if you do that, that's the beginning of the end.
Oh yeah.
And you could end up in a funny farm talking to yourself.
Well, you sure can. And not only
many
that,
others.
And not only that, you also, there's almost a sense of karmic attachment that goes on with it too, because if you take on that other person's problem, you're now a part of that problem too. You've taken it into yourself, and you now, like you said, own it. So whatever happens in that person's life, you're going to have some sense of responsibility to it too.
Yeah, when you I tell people when I sit down with them, even if it's just for a light reading, I am now going in, I'm going to be doing this, and I take my responsibility extremely serious, because I'm messing with your life.
Yep.
And I mean, you've trusted me because of the reviews you've seen, or perhaps a friend of yours has come to me, and are trusting that I'm going to give you the best information possible. But my responsibility, I always get really, really nervous when I'm doing this kind of stuff too, because of the fact that you are coming in and you're taking a look at what's going on, yes, but you are also responsible for showing them the best mode of action for them to do, so that they don't make the situation, or you don't make the situation worse.
Right, exactly. And speaking about this we got to hit a break here in a few moments, but one thing that I've talked about, and I'd love to get your thoughts with this, because this ties right into what we're discussing here, I think, with energy and responsibility and so on and so forth. For instance, when you go out and you work a job and you earn your money, that money is like a crystallized form of your energy. So when you spend that money, you have to be actually very cautious about where you spend it, not just, doing it, of course, frivolously, because you don't run out of money and all that kind of stuff. But, you have to be very cautious. For instance, let's put it to you this way. I'll give you an example. let's say that you go out, you earn money, and you go to a drug dealer and you buy some drugs. And that drug dealer then takes that money and uses it to buy a gun, and then later uses that gun to shoot some kid, or, some innocent kid gets killed in a crossfire or something. You have a responsibility for that. The energy of that action is actually going to come back onto you because you facilitated that happening. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but if I'm using drugs, I don't give a damn.
That's true, right? But I just wanted to get your thoughts with that.
A different kind of an example, but I get you. I hear what you're saying, and yes, you are responsible.
As another example, then you go to Walmart, you buy something from Walmart, and you know that Walmart uses slave labor essentially from China to do their products, and there's kids that are over there in slave labor that are putting these products together. You are again culpable for some of that action because of the money you spend there.
Yes.
Just wanted to get your thought with that.
I'm agreeing with you. Let's roll with that when we come back.
All right, sounds good. So you guys are listening to Open Eyes. We're here with Jackie Chin tonight, and this is really awesome. I love the conversation. I love where it's been going. If you guys want to call in, 260-494-3937. Skype line is JDA Film. As always, we're over in the chat room at LNMRadioNetwork.com, and we do have some questions that have come in from the chat we'll get to here in just a little bit. So stick around. We'll be back in just a few minutes, folks.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
The LNM Radio Network offers a chat room for you, the listener, to connect with others whom are interested in the topics and guests that the LNM Radio Network brings to you. During the live shows, the hosts will even visit the chat room and chat with you, the listener. Click on the big red Chat and Listen button at the top of the website and join us. No subscription is needed at either lnmradionetwork.com or latenightinthemidlands.com.
To hide the truth, once you know it, makes you think that you are better than everyone else. It makes you into the type of person who says, "Ooh, I have a secret," but you're not ready to hear it yet. However, for $39.95, I'll let you in on the secret. You'll lead the people to the promised land for the cheap price of 3 easy payments of 1/3 of their soul apiece.
Attention all personnel. Tonight's movie is War Drums Along the East River, a rollicking adventure following the final days of the gang war in post-apocalyptic Brooklyn. See actors trying to rap and rappers trying to act in what film critic David Manning called the worst movie of its or any other kind ever. Free popcorn will also be served.
Have you ever heard of Audible? Audible is a website with hundreds of thousands of audiobooks. They're all high quality, easy to listen to, and, best of all, if you take advantage of a special deal that we've worked out for you, you can get one for free. That's right, a free audiobook of your choice in any genre, simply by going to audibletrial.com/openeyes and signing up for the free trial. It's simple to do, and it would support the shows that we bring to you, and hey, you get a free book out of the whole thing. So why not take advantage of it today? Go to audibletrial.com/openeyes and sign up for the trial. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Open Eyes. My name is Ira Robinson. Tonight we're here with Jackie Chin, and hopefully you guys are enjoying the show. If you guys want to call in, 260-494-3937 is the call-in number. And as always, the chat room is at LNMRadioNetwork.com or my website, OpenEyesNetwork.com. And hopefully you guys will jump on over there and join in with us. We're also live streaming on YouTube, as always, youtube.com/C/OpenEyesNetwork. And don't forget, I do have my new book that's coming out here within the next couple of weeks, Haunted, Finding an Explanation for the Unknown. I'm looking forward to everybody getting a hold of that one and taking a read, and hopefully everyone will enjoy it. You guys can find information about that over on my website, originalworlds.com. Jackie, we're back, and boy, this has really been a great show. I've really had a great time tonight so far. I know you've got a website. Why don't you give out your website information before we run out of time this evening? I want to make sure you get a chance to get it out.
You can find me at psychicconnections.blogspot.com. It's spelled PSYCHICCONNEXTIONS.blogspot.com. And you can also find some reviews for my work over the past years on bestpsychicdirectory.com, and just put in my name, Jackie Chin, in the search bar, and you'll find me there.
Awesome. I hope that people go on over there and take a look at your site. We'll also definitely have it linked up on both the YouTube archive as well as our archive of this show on our website. And I'll also put a link for that over there on our links page as well for people that want to take a look too. So, yeah.
Good stuff. All right. So, where were we?
We were talking a little bit about the energy and how people, when they expend their energy through money, for instance, how it actually can have a negative influence on their lives because of, maybe you could call it karmic attachment or whatever you want to call it, just an energy attachment when you support things, for instance, that then use that money in very bad ways. Somehow you have a culpability with it.
Right. No, always. When you take your money that you obtain and you put it into something that is especially negative, you're going to reap that energy that will come off of there eventually. It might not happen right away, but eventually it will. The same way when you go and you go the opposite way, when you try to do something good. Let's say you have maybe $5 in your pocket, and maybe that's all you have, and you see someone that hasn't eaten, and you can tell pretty much that they need something to eat, and you give them a couple of bucks, and they, you actually see them get it, and then they go over to wherever they're going to go to get a little bit of something to eat. That karma also goes well too.
It does indeed.
And the whole it's one continuous cycle. So and also sometimes people go, well, if you do these negative bad things, then maybe you just go and do some really, really good things, and they'll cancel it all out. Well, bad energy or bad choices in your monetary spending, they kind of stick around a lot longer because they have a much more denser kind of energy. Things are, especially if it is eventually used in something that is horrific. And people, they don't think about the consequences of that because, well, they're not really taught that. They're taught get the money and spend it however you want to do it, and hopefully, they're doing it in a good way. But oftentimes, we can get caught up in doing very foolish things without thinking.
It's my hope that science does finally come to the point where they have, admitting openly that these kind of things do happen, because there are quite a few scientific studies that have been done on this kind of stuff, especially outside of America. Outside of America, it seems like they're more apt to do this kind of study as opposed to within the borders here. For whatever reason, I don't understand exactly why, but, you go over to Asia, for instance, Russia especially has done a lot of work in these kind of areas, things that would be considered more woo-woo or occultic or that kind of thing. And so they've had a little bit of a better foothold as far as this kind of stuff goes. But I do hope that science does come to the terms or to the understanding that this kind of stuff really does happen, and maybe start teaching people when they're young to be cautious about what they're doing, to realize just how much of an impact they really are having just by their simple actions.
Well, if you're looking at just a regular, normal American family, most of these people are so busy trying to pay for things that they cannot afford in the first place, that they give things to the children or young people that are around them, and it is used to pacify them. And the children start doing things that, like I said, can be very unconscionable because they're not being given the responses. The parentals are not engaging with them, looking at them. Even eye-to-eye contact is rare. You ever gone out in public and watched some of these families interact, so to speak, or whatever they call their interaction? Most of them have got their faces stuck in to the whatever their device is, and or they're either talking with somebody else or they're punching the little buttons on their devices, and the kids are out doing whatever the heck they're doing. Then there's some people that say, well, how in the heck could that happen to my kids? I mean, they were right there. Well, where was your brain? Where were you? Were you engaged with them, or were you paying attention elsewhere?
Right. I've been to restaurants and seen the families, just sitting there, all of them on their cell phones staring at them. Yes. I've even seen them texting each other back and forth while they're sitting at the damn table. What the hell is that?
Yeah, when you're sitting down at the dinner in my house, you have devices. We all have devices. They get either turned off or they get put down. Yep. And anybody that goes and goes for one, there's big trouble in Little China if they do that. Unless it is a full-blown emergency, you don't get up until the parentals get up. Yep. And then you can go and do whatever the heck you're going to do, because that part of the evening is officially finished, when we get up. But there are less and less people that are eating around a table. There are some, though, that are becoming very activist in turning off the device. And there are even programs that are out there that can shut down the Wi-Fi and everything else in the house until that period of time is finished. And then they go back to doing whatever they're doing. I don't necessarily recommend doing that because, God forbid there is an emergency and your devices are off. But it has come basically down to that. People just do not want or do not understand how to disconnect.
That's been a big problem, I think, rising upwards for a long time now. We've got even the companies I see actually it almost being a social programming kind of thing that's going on behalf of different companies and corporations to help them sell more goodies, Yeah,
you notice that. We are programmed to take certain particular things as socially acceptable. Right. I mean, just look at the major big boxes when it comes to like what we should eat, when we should eat it, and how much we should eat, and or what we should look like. All of that. It's very extremely media controlled. In this house, we don't have regular television. I mean, we have TV, yes, but you will not see us watching, I guess, commercial, as you would call it, commercial TV. A lot of it is, we watch Netflix and stuff like that, but it's not commercially driven. And we stopped doing that about 6 years ago.
That's how it is in our household too. It's the same way. We got Netflix, Amazon, and Hulu if we want to watch something,
And for the most part, there's not really much on regular television that is of interest anyway.
Yeah, exactly. We do have a couple of questions that have come in, and I definitely want to go ahead and make sure that we've got time to get to them tonight. So why don't we hit those here real quick?
Sure.
One of them is in regards to what we were talking about earlier with the taking in of different energies from people that are around us. So they want to get your thoughts, and I've got, again, my thoughts on this too. But what are your thoughts regarding what's like referred to as energy vampires? People that just are there to feed off of the energy of other people. What are your thoughts with that?
There are always going to be people, no matter how much you try to stay away from them. There are going to be these people that are real drains on our own personal energy, and that's not talking even in the woo-woo sense. That's talking in a physical sense.
The time invested and all that. Yeah.
Have you ever been in a conversation where you know that person is going to talk your ear off, and they're going to make you feel, or you're going to feel, I should say, drained or really angry, or just like, oh my goodness, I'd rather be having my teeth worked on than doing that. Yeah, they can, and a lot of times they're relatives, and that's kind of crappy. What you need to do is do your very best to limit the amount of time that you're with them. And if you are conscious of using your personal energy to be able to help you, then I would, you can do cleansings. I mean, you can get very esoteric about the whole thing, or you could just say, simply, I choose to be able to have a clear energy channel around me, and I am not going to accept negative impact from anyone, especially, this person or this situation. I choose to not become fully engaged.
I definitely agree with you there. I've run across people. I would say there's people that are how I term passive energy vampires. They're sort of like temporary ones or unconscious ones. And then there are ones that are very conscious of what they're doing, and they kind of do it intentionally.
They're coming. You can feel them coming from like a mile away. Yeah. And it's literally like there's a disturbance in the force.
Yes, exactly.
And your body, and what's funny is you could be thinking about something totally completely different or engaged fully in something. And then all of a sudden your conscious being tweaks to, there's something coming this way that I'm not really going to want to deal with.
Yeah.
You can, there are particular crystals and minerals that you can carry with you to be able to help ward stuff like that off. And very often, if you have like a 2 or 3 just regular clear quartz crystals, they don't even have to be any bigger than a dime or as big as a quarter. You could have a main one where you take it between your hands and you place your intention of having this crystal retract or reflect negative energy from people that you come in on a daily basis with. And what it'll do is it'll push it away. But it can also act as a sponge, and it can help you, you can put the energy into the crystal, and you can help it to be able to just maintain your own personal balance so that you don't suck up any of the other stuff. Sometimes you can actually physically just take it out of your pocket and just put it on the table or have it in your hand. It is really that simple. You don't need like all of these crazy expensive things to ward off that kind of energy.
Right, exactly. It doesn't take much. It's there as an aid, as a focus, for instance, for what your soul, your spirit already knows needs to be done. It's kind of an unconscious action that happens.
Yes, and if you consciously do this every night, you can take the thing and you can clear it simply by running it under cold water.
Right.
Sometimes people will put it in moonlight or sunlight, and those are wonderful ways to be able to clear a stone. But taking it and running it under cold water for even a minute is very good, because that is your intention of just getting rid of all of that, so you don't have to continuously get rid of them, because they can be expensive too.
Oh yeah.
You get a habit of doing that. And I had a friend of mine who knew that they could use it as a sponge, but they didn't understand that they could also clear the thing too, and you can reuse it. And they were like, "Didn't you know that?" And I go, "No, you don't know what you don't ask about or look for."
Yep, exactly. Okay, so another question that came in, I gotta try to read it on the screen here. Unfortunately, my eyes are kind of useless. Okay, what's your take on shadow people, and what do you think they are? Are they maybe dimensionals or aliens or what? What are your thoughts with that?
Okay, so we have what scientists are finally realizing is that we do have something called a multiverse, and there are things in which can come through in the cracks or in the in-betweens. And, I do believe that they are real and that they seem to be some sort of a being. I haven't quite figured out if it's something from this plane that once it crosses over that it turns into that. I don't think that that's the case, though, because they seem to have a different kind of a vibration. They're very denser.
Yeah, they're very aware of us. I mean, the ones that I've encountered, they're very aware of us. It's just we're not necessarily aware of them.
Yeah, and normally when someone sees it, it's usually out of the corner of the eye.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be that there is a lot of sun or a lot of light in the particular area where they're at, because they're very distinctive. I believe they're creatures. They're a form of a being.
I 100% agree with you on that. That's exactly how I've ended up feeling with them. Again, you get the feels of things, So the feels that I get from them, they're definitely something. Whether they're an interdimensional being or if they're maybe just a part of our existence and we're not completely aware of them. Because, we know for a fact our senses are not everything that there is. We're only aware of a certain bracket of frequencies in our visual spectrum as well as our hearing spectrum.
Well, I have an idea too about why young people, especially children, can see apparitions extremely easy. I think that it has something to do with the cone and the shape of our eye, especially when we're very, very brand new. And I think that it has more of a fuller color spectrum, and that as we age, we seem to lose a good part of that. That's why maybe then it goes more to our senses of just the sense of being that touches our subconscious, and not so much a visual thing. And so there's a whole, our bodies are completely amazing.
That they are.
Absolutely.
They're amazing just for the factor of how much abuse can we put into them, how much toxic materials we put into them, and yet they still function. It's like if I did that to my average Chevy, they'd fall apart in a heartbeat.
Right? There are also things that happen to our body where it will compensate for things that either are shutting down or for particular senses that we may lose entirely. Mm-hmm. The other parts of our body respond more deeply. That sense just seems to go kind of on hyperdrive, because especially if there's a main sense that crashes.
Since going blind, my hearing is much better than it ever was, and my sense of touch is extreme compared to what it used to be. Again, like you're saying, the body does absolutely compensate for these damages that happen. It's weird, but it really is the truth.
Absolutely. So these shadow people, they are something that is real. I would, if you're running into seeing these entities or beings, often what I would do is take a journal and write in entries about different kinds of things that have been going on in your life for maybe about 2 to 3 months before the encounter. That requires you, of course, to have a pretty good memory. But I'm also finding that some of these people that are having a lot of disturbances in their physical or emotional life are have more of a tendency to run into them.
You know, that's what I've noticed too. I've noticed that too. One of the people in the chat room, they did a comment and they said, is it possible that maybe children vibrate at a frequency closer to souls that have passed over, or because they're new souls in the world? Maybe
they're
that's
on
why
the right
it is.
path. I really do think that that's the way that is, because you're it's kind of think about entering into a brand new state of being. Once you're in that physical form, your body vibrations, all of that tend to slow down. But when you're really young, I'm thinking you're still zinging on a really much higher level. We haven't done any kind of research on that, but I think that would be something to take a serious look at.
I would agree with that, definitely. Do you think they're dangerous? Because I don't think they're dangerous. I've never heard of anybody that really has been in danger with it. But
I will say no with a caveat. That would be if you are of good, sound mind and body and spirit, and you are doing good things and not taking in anything that is negative or harmful to your body, then they are just a thing that is happening in the background. But if you are in a situation where you are damaging your body, either on purpose or perhaps trying to keep something else away that is bothering you really bad, and you're changing your body's physical vibration every time you do something that is in a negative way. Even if it's only a little bit, you're changing that vibration so that it becomes denser. When it becomes denser, then you tap more into denser energies because it's equal and it can flow better. If you run into one of these entities or whatever the heck they are, and you start speaking with it or you start connecting with it, then you are starting to run down a very dangerous path. And there you really do need to talk with somebody that is knowledgeable about what to do to help.
Indeed. Now, that I love the way that you put that. That's great, because for me, I've never heard of anybody really being harmed by them if it's just like passive encounters, you know.
Right,
but
that's not a big deal then.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Great. So now, going into another direction with the questions here. Somebody was wondering, what can we do to help teach, for instance, children? I think they were kind of gearing it more towards children in the question, but what can we do to help teach children to be more open and aware of these things that we've been discussing? Do we start that when they're very young and just go with it, or do you want to broach it slowly?
First, you need to educate yourself. You need to be able to talk with people who look at this more on a scientific level than they do on that new agey level, because there is two different lines of thinking. They're starting to finally realize that all thing is energy, and that different kinds of things can happen if your vibration matches a particular frequency to something else that's going on that will spark that thing to happen over your course more. Okay, good, bad, or indifferent. That education is paramount. And then when the children start to come to you and say, well, I'm seeing this or I'm feeling that, there are ways to be able to sort out whether or not it is an emotional distress signal because they're feeling somehow pushed away from you and not getting the response that they need. If that's not the case and you know that you're engaging with your children, then there are different kinds of things that you can ask that child or look at to be able to determine what kinds of things specifically they're able to do. And on that blogspot on my website, psychicconnections.blogspot.com, there is a parental checklist to be able to go through to see when your child says particular things, to look at and see what it is, and then either how to deal with it directly if the child is old enough and you can have that kind of a conversation with them, or to be able to try and dial it down some. You're not going to stop it.
Okay, so that actually answers a side question that I had about what to do perhaps with children who have already maybe been damaged by exposure to this type of thing. What do you think about that? Is there something specific that we should do with somebody that's been maybe having these influences from outside coming in to help them deal with it? Number
one, try and see if there is a psychological reason why these events are happening. Usually look at about 3 to 6 months of things, different kinds of things that have happened to that child in their experience, and see if there is something that is tipping the scale into the favor of going in the wrong direction. If that's not the case, then what you need to do is to remove the child from the place where it is happening most and get someone involved that works in that field, and have them go through and go through the entire property and inspect what is going on. If there is some sort of anomaly that is happening, then address the anomaly and do what you can to be able to either shut it down or tune it down so that it is not as loud. Education is the first response, should always be the first response, and not education in fear, but education in quality information that you can use to be able to understand what is happening.
It's funny. Going with this, I've got a child who's severely autistic, and I know for instance, with that kind of case, the parents of people of children who have had these kind of things happen, they have to almost become the experts regarding these topics because, not every doctor is exposed to everything regarding autism, for instance. They might have, an idea of it or an idea of maybe how to treat it a little bit or something like that, but they don't know everything about it. And the parents who have these different disorders, we know everything that there is to know about this topic, or at least what's available, and it's almost the same way with this kind of situation too, right?
You have to educate yourself. And there are so many people out there that think, if you just do this, it'll stop. Or if you do this, then it'll make it happen.
That's not always the case, though, because it's not always a one-size-fits-all kind of situation, right?
It isn't. It just isn't. Each situation is so different because you're talking about different ancestral backgrounds. You're going back to your DNA. Genetically, are there any, what is the precursors in this young person's life that maybe make this come out louder, whether it be genetic markers or if it is something that is ancestral. Learn about your family trait, do some digging, that kind of thing, and also understand the area that you're living. We have a lot of times where we'll look at a place and we'll go, that's a great place, and we'll just move in. And we don't think about, what happened there before, or even on the land before everything else was built up. We don't think about any of that. And then after a while, certain things happen, and sometimes it can go very awry really quickly, and it's because people don't do the research. And a lot of times we don't have time to do that. We're so busy trying to go and make the dollar so that we can feed our families and keep the lights on and food in the refrigerator and all of that kind of stuff. We don't have time for research and all of that. But if stuff starts to happen that is anomalous, that is where you need to begin. Start researching. Start looking at how your life has changed within the last 3 to 6 months or even year. And if there is more tension that's building up, then you need to see what is causing that tension and address it at its roots. A lot of times people don't want to do that. That's why things become louder and louder.
It's like once a stain forms, it's hard to get it cleaned up if you've left it there for a long time, and it'll grow.
Yeah, and even if you try to clean it up, there's still that residue.
Yep.
Very often. I tell people a lot of times when they talk about anomalous things that happen within a home or within a building, I just think about a clear glass and put milk in it and drink the milk. No matter how much you try to drink old milk, you're not going to do that because there's going to be that film that's going to stick to the glass.
Right.
And that film, you think about it, that's all of the people touching things. You've got steps, running up and down the steps, touching the walls, touching the carpet, the loud fights, or even the really, really good stuff. Sometimes you walk into a property and you're like, wow, that's really cool. It feels good. I want to just move in because it just feels wonderful. And then sometimes you get and you start walking up to a place and you're like, I don't want to go in there. And you've never been there. You don't even know nothing about it, but you're like, I don't want to do this. That's because your ancestral body is going, hey, you don't want to do that. We've been there, done that. You don't want to do that.
Danger zone, danger.
danger, Will Robinson.
Exactly.
Just showing my age there. Dang.
Showing my age because I knew where you're going.
I know, right? We get it. We understand. But people, please, educate yourself. If you don't know where to start doing that, look at Ira's books. Take a look at what he's experienced. There are a lot of things there that will probably you'll find that you relate to. And you've got my website there. Take a look at that. If you've got children that are coming to you and saying, I'm seeing these things, there is a checklist that's on there. You'll have to dig for it. Children who are, is your child psychic? The article is my child psychic? And I think you can put that in the search bar. And it should come up with a really, really long, extensive article that will give you a comparison about the different kinds of things that the child may or may not be experiencing. And a lot of times what I say is if your child is 12 and over, you can make a copy for them. They can go and they can read it and they can check off their own stuff. And then you can take it and check it off and see if you're coming to terms with what you think it is, and use that as a conversation piece. And not something to scare them with, but to educate yourselves with and say, hey, and be honest with your kid too. Say, hey, I don't know really much about this, but this is a way to be able to start at least having that conversation.
It's a way to get out of the fear too, because the child may already be very afraid of what's happening to them. So if they're
to be scared to death.
Yeah, if you're talking to them about it, you're helping them to alleviate that fear that they're already having. It's not a fearful topic. Information is not negative or positive. It's just information. It's what you do with it that becomes negative or positive.
Yes. In all cases, all the time, every time, no matter what the subject is.
Exactly. One other question, and then we're going to be running short on time. Do you think that people can be carriers of entities? And if so, can these entities pop off of the other person and onto you?
Oh, yes. A lot of times, I've run into people that said every time I move some different thing, something else happens. And I tell them, I said, very often there are places. Remember I told you about how energy can be, even before people start building things and all that, there's that energy of the land.
Oh, yeah.
People can be haunted too. And it depends a lot of times on what their choices are. If they make really good choices and they try to do the best that they possibly can, then they're pretty much free from the denser energies that would come in and try to cause bigger problems. But if they have a habit of being angry a lot or carrying on other people's responsibilities or always being the go-to person and never finding a way to be able to release all that energy, because you can be like that too as empaths. That's part of the reason why they can get severely depressed and turn to drugs, alcohol, and other things that are very unsuited for their body and their mind. And a lot of times people, when they run into really terrible situations, whether they're causing it or they are part of it, turn to things that are very terrible just to get away from the noise of what's really happening.
Very, very interesting. Now, okay, so before we run out of time, I want to make sure to give you a chance to get out your information again. Where can people get a hold of you if you've got anything that you'd like to, sell or anything along those lines? Where can people find you out there?
You can find me at psychicconnections.blogspot.com. And if you're interested in getting a reading, you can go over to bestpsychicdirectory.com and put in my name, Jackie Chin. I charge $25 for a half an hour and $45 for an hour, which a lot of people are like, what? Why is that so low? But I always want to make getting a reading very affordable for anyone. And I do, if there are missing persons or their deceased loved ones or people that they're looking for, I do not charge for that because I don't believe that people should do that. So that's that.
I agree with you there, by the way. Yes, absolutely. I've seen so many people out there that charge just exorbitant amounts of money to try to come in and do things like that.
That. Nor how they sleep at night, but I think they probably pop a bunch of pills before they go to sleep.
I would agree there, definitely.
Because I couldn't deal with that kind of karma. I don't want that.
Yeah.
Those people are already suffering enough. Think about that.
Yep, exactly. Well, we've got about just a minute or so that is left here. What kind of things would you like to get out there to people as sort of a final message from Jackie Chin?
Please educate yourself. If you're scared about something, educate yourself. That will help you. And if you can't find where to start to educate yourself, start looking for people that you respect and seeing what they say on whatever the matter is. And love one another. It's not that difficult.
You got it exactly. I love that. That's an awesome way to end. Thank you so much for coming on the show tonight, Jackie. I definitely appreciate it. And we'll have you linked up on our websites as well as the YouTube channel as well for future use. And I would love for you to come back on the show anytime that you like.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Why don't you stick around for a minute? I'll talk to you after the show then.
Thank you.
All righty. So, folks, there you go. Jackie Chin. We'll have her linked up on our sites, and you guys can go on over there and find her. If you guys want to go to the archive of this show, it's going to be at openeyesnetwork.com as well as our YouTube channel, youtube.com/C/OpenEyesNetwork. Love for you guys to go on over and check it out. Again, if you're over on YouTube, you can hit the subscribe button and you'll get notified of when we put out a new show. We go live Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as well as Friday nights at midnight with Duct Tape Nation. I'm on there frequently with Joe, but not always. Anyways, if you guys want to send me an email, you can send it to feedback@openeyesnetwork.com. And I'd love to hear from you guys if you want to be a guest or if you have comments about past guests or anything along those lines, anything you'd like to have my attention be brought to. Again, feedback@openeyesnetwork.com. Social media wise, we're everywhere. Open Eyes Network on all of the different platforms that's out there. And again, would love to have you come on over and interact. Don't forget, all of my books are available for sale over there at originalworlds.com. Not just books, though. I have writing prompts. I have writing advice. I have all of my different free stories, short stories, flash fiction, all that kind of good stuff. That's all over there. And I'm also on Wattpad for those of you guys that are over there as well. So, yeah, check me out. Ira Robinson at all of those different places, too. So, yeah, this has been a great show. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Again, I will be on tonight at midnight Eastern Standard Time with Joe on Duct Tape Nation. And, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. We're going to talk about Trump's new tax plan as well as all different kinds of things along those lines. Anyways, until next time, keep safe out there. Have fun. Thank you so much, as always, for listening. Love each other. Be safe. And, yeah, we'll talk to you again soon.